evening, everybody. I am Jean-Guihen Queyras. This is IDAGIO Live, and this is the Bach workshops. And it is difficult for me to believe that this is the last time I say this. I mean, at least this whole sequence of words, because this is our concluding episode for the Bach suites. You know how I think most of you have Facebook, and you get sometimes this reminder of past, of souvenirs from Facebook, like from 1, 2, 3 years ago. And when I scheduled today's event, I knew that, basically sort of 1 year had passed. But as it happens, today, Facebook sent me a reminder, wanted to give me this souvenir that exactly a year ago, I posted on my social media the video announcing this series. So it's, I find it a funny coincidence, because it could have been different, but through the rhythm, which had been, has been changing over the year, we reached exactly 1 year. We started in a very ambitious way. We had a phase where we had 2 episodes a week, because we thought, 36 episodes, we have to move along. So we started with it, and then we realized it was a bit too intense for me and maybe for you, dear viewers. Then we started to do a week, and then, in the summer there were some concerts, and I took breaks and everything. And yes, I must admit that in the last months there were several times where the time between the episodes would stretch, because thank God, concert life seems to be starting again. And also, it was, I realized that if I wanted to have new material to talk about for each episode, I needed more time to prepare. Anyways, here we are a year later, and what we will do, we will start by, of course, going to our movement of the day, which is the Gigue from the 6th Suite. And then, if you bear with me, I will take a few minutes to sum up a little bit the main topics we talked about over this time, with all the amazing guests that I had, and not only the specific topics of interpretation and listening tools that have given, but maybe just why would one be crazy enough to spend a year talking on regular at regular intervals, or not so regular intervals, as we just mentioned, to talk about one masterwork. And it cannot be that it's just, okay, we like the Bach suites and we want to either play it better, or we want to have an insight of how to listen to it, because first of all, those of you who listen to it, you have had hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to listen to the most beautiful interpretations of it, and those of you who play it, you certainly get here and over there and everywhere all this inspiration from wonderful players, and so maybe I will take a few minutes to share with you how the reason I personally see in why a work of 2 hours of music could mean so much, for sure, to me, but I think definitely to humankind, when you see how universal this masterwork has become, and how the place that it has taken in our society. I mean, for many people. And so we'll talk a little bit about this later on. Before I go to our Gigue, I have a little follow-up about the last episode about the gavottes, thanks to a very interesting question by Jeffrey Wang, whom I would like to thank, who has been very faithful to this series and also sending so many interesting questions. And he's sending a question. I'll be honest with you. I wanted to share this question with you, even though I don't have an answer. But I thought maybe some people amongst you might have an answer. And if so, please send it to me, and I will be very honored and happy to share it on my social media. So here is the text that Jeffrey sent me yesterday. Yes, I would like to express my gratitude for the musical experience that you have shared over this time. Also, a big thank you to all the wonderful guests for their passionate inspirations over the year. So this I wanted to really say for our guests who have been so generous with their time and in their presence. Now, the point that Jeffrey is raising about the gavottes from the Sixth Suite. While, the question concerns the time signature of the Arabic numeral 2 at the beginning of the gavotte 2. So at the beginning of the gavotte 1, there is the more conventional, the one that was used all the time, C, which is and a crossed C, suggesting anyway that we are in 2, that we are in half steps, so to say, as half notes. So and about this difference, Jeffrey is asking, historically, is there a significance to this type of time signature? It is really fascinating to think, why would Anna Magdalena put at the beginning of Gavotte 1 this C like this, and at the beginning of Gavotte 2 this 2? Jeffrey goes on, moreover, some musicians think of the Gavotte 2 as a musette. I think this is one of the points that Piotr Anderszewski mentioned in our episode on this last time. Could there be any relevance of Bach trying to distinguish the first gavotte followed by a musette style gavotte 2? So I don't have the answer to this, but I thought this is such an interesting question. I share it here, and hopefully one of our viewers is knowledgeable about this and could help us with this. So let's go on to our Gigue from the Sixth Suite. Now, what a challenge for any other composer to conclude an opera of more than 2 hours of music, almost 2.5 hours. How can you conclude that? Well, Bach makes the choice to celebrate by composing a fanfare. This piece starts really like a fanfare. You think of trumpets, you think of horns, definitely of brass instrument. A sort of hunting motive, which all the great composers have again and times again used in their music. Mozart, of course, Haydn, and Brahms. Brahms is using a lot of these very fundamental horn duo motives, and this gives the settings for I guess when you think brass, when you think trumpet, you think outside world, you think sonore, you think something that is carrying through the woods and that is addressing people that are far away. So let's again play with this fanfare with, by the way, with ascending motives. The reason I mentioned that, so this is rising to the third. A lot of the movements in the suite were descending motif, exactly on the same notes, but the other way around. Sarabande. Descending motif. Now in the gavottes we had both directions. So here he goes back to the ascending motif. Now after this fanfare opening, he does go back to his very prominent material of the descending thirds, the one that was in the sarabande. But still in a fanfare style. The repeat of it probably as an echo, like there is another horn answering from the other side of the forest. Now, what is this? It's, as usual, you remember that after presenting his main motif, Bach very often goes to doing a sequence. The good news is I don't need to explain anymore what a sequence is, because I've talked about it so many times here, a sort of balancing. So, and but he does it with a lot of what I would call precipitations, different voices going down, and all of them having some kind of energy that gives all together this buoyancy, this life. And after this, oh my God, there is so much live in this music. It's really impressive. After this, he is doing a small dialogue of two voices. This one and then he starts spinning. Yeah, these three notes repeated twice before really it seems to be like we are taking our élan, our swing before a very virtuosic passage from the very low register to the highest possible. Before returning to our horn brass motive in A major. Here a little detail. In Anna Magdalena's manuscript, it's really written, and many people, because probably of the first Berenreiter edition, which corrected it to the same ornamentation than we have in the themes. And so many people here play like this. I think it's always good to have a little difference when the same motif come twice. So that's why I would really keep what Anna Magdalena wrote here. And also it gives something even more, I find, brassy about it. Now, repeated notes. Remember, there have been quite a few in this suite. Definitely when we start the gavotte one, and it's obviously it's something that brings a lot of enjoyment, because when you repeat a note, it has no harmonic function. You can really say that it has a melodic function. So what could be the function of it? It's the rhythm. It's pure rhythm. It's pure dancing. Again, a motif that's repeated to give us a sense of ascension. And now, a wonderful, one of my favorite passages in this Gigue, sort of bells ringing. So there is one voice that is keeping these repeated notes, to give this sense of people really like on dancing on one foot and then on the other one, so this so about one little technical tip I want to give to my friends cellists out there for this passage, that, well, again, if you think of it as a very dancing passage, and I think there is no really other way to do that, try to make your right arm dance. That would mean that and not, don't play too horizontal, otherwise you don't really fit to what Bach is enjoying here, which is this dancing, It's really, I mean, it's like the rock and roll of that time, When you really it has to have this verticality. Trust your right arm and let it swing like it's dancing. Now we start the second half. Modulation to E minor, to B minor, excuse me, and now will be the passage with minore, a bit longer one, B minor now and then E minor later, and the minore is the moment for the more where we will be for a moment, not as much, jumping around out of joy, but telling a little bit, be more rhetorical. But still see how Bach enjoy creating energy and space by bringing together the very far away register. That's a very beautiful passage too. Remember that's the motive, the second motive we had in the Gigue, but this time in a more a more tender way, in a way. Now he does again this two-voice dialogue that we had, remember, the two voices, except here we have the one that is more moving and having more ornamentation is the upper one. Here it's the contrary. We have ornamentation, and here only two eighth notes. Now we through this walking bass, this active bass, we sort of sense that we are going to go back to something more dancing. And now you will see for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars, a lot of melisme. That's I don't have a good word for this in English, but basically of legato 16th notes that means activity, but also very linear activity. But in between, we have big jumps. Long rhythm here, be ready. So we have really gone from the low register to the highest possible one to reach to come back to dominant. And now, after all these very linear things, again a very almost, I would say, square and for sure fanfare-like motif. Instructs us to use the two strings to have something like if there were two horns that are not 100% in tune, you know, that play the same note. And now. Wonderful! A little last celebration of where we started, a G major chord. Remember, this whole story started in G major. Again, the dialogue between two voices, spinning. So, except remember this arpeggio that we had, this very difficult one, by the way. Well, we have it here again, except that since he started even lower, thanks to the different key, to the key of D major this time, he's it's not finished. Not finished. So that's at the very end we reach one last time the glorious highest register and do our dancing again. Finish on a beautiful low D, which is probably one of our favorite notes on the cello. Well, dear friends, I'm almost speechless. Well, soon I will be speechless because this whole adventure will be over. For now, I don't want to sound too emotional, but I am. I will miss you all. I will miss all this very, very generous input that you have given me over this time, with your questions, suggestions, corrections when I said something which was not right. And yeah, let me say this. I had at some point, and some of you immediately sent me some ideas. I had suggested there would be an after Bach suite, and because I would want to continue this adventure. Well, I am already in discussions with IDAGIO on how we could go on from October, from the next school year, so to say, with different works and on a monthly rhythm. And of course, I will keep you posted about this on my social media. And thanks to all of you who already sent some ideas for this. Now, before we say goodbye, as I said before, the main questions over this year, well, I will start from the point of view of the cellist talking to cellists, because a lot of you out there are colleagues. And if I sum up how I personally go when I go to the Bach suites, a sort of little roadmap of how to bring this music to life, which is in the end the main question when we play any piece of music, of course, but particularly when we play by ourselves such an ambitious, large work of music. So I would like to recapitulate this roadmap. 1, dance. That means look at, for all the dances anyway, what is what is this dance? What is its pulse? How does it groove? Is it two bars breathing? Is it, most of the time it is. Sometimes it's 1 bar when it's very long bar. Sometimes it's 4 bars, like Gigue from the Fifth Suite, for example. We have it's always constructed in four bars. So how does it breathe? Or also in the sense of how can I relate to it bodily? How can I move while I think of this pulse? That would be number one. Always put this as your first stone, so to say. Number two, speak this music, sing it, and together with, I suggest, do it standing up and having all of your body, your feet, your arms, singing it. You know, like I've been making a fool of myself here quite a few times. You know, to feel how does this, what is the kind of energy that I get from this music, you know, or and believe me, the more you sing with the pulse, the better. The better you will play. It's very, very, very simple. I always tell this, encourage my student, please, 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 don't think, oh no, I am an instrumentalist. I don't sing. Sing. We should all sing. We should all sing. So, and then comes the question of the fingerings and the bowings, which too often, and that's the reason I wanted to give this roadmap, too often they come in first place in the mind of young cellists who are starting to play the Bach suite. And one way to not give them the priority is to play, at least for the bowings, is to play first without any slurs. Play without slurs, play this music. And then look, of course, at what Adnan Magdalena has written, get inspired by it, get the information that he gives us, and try to make sense of, oh, why does she put a slur here? What does it change when I play with the slur as opposed to when I played before without the slur? What is the purpose of this slur? And all of this, if you do it once you have the main groove, rhythm of the piece, and the phrases, the structure, how they breathe, that you want to go to the 3rd bar and then relax to the 4th bar, as an example. Once this is really, you have this in your body, then you will not let a bowing be in the way, which happens too often. Too often, because I have to do this, but suddenly I have to play 1 note down and 3 note up, and then suddenly it gives a heaviness on this note. No, 1 plus 3 doesn't mean that the 1 note by itself has to be heavier. Not at all. That's as an example. I will once more maybe repeat here my little metaphor, which is, I know, a very silly one, but remember that when you build a house, build the walls, put a roof, and then go in this space, look at this space and say, okay, what kind of furniture do I want to put in? And your bowings are your furniture. Don't go make a huge furniture shopping before you know where you're going to put these furnitures. That doesn't make sense. That's exactly the same with bowings, dear friends. So about the fingerings, one thing maybe I haven't insisted enough is, in the Bach suite, the more open strings you play, the better. It's all 95% of the cases. All possible that you can play down here, do it. Too often I see cellists who go to the fourth position to play some things they could play on upper strings here because they are afraid of open strings. Love your open strings. They are our best friends. They have a lot of swing, they bring with them a quality that gives harmonic quality, because they have a lot of overtones, much more than when we play in higher positions. Yeah. So that was my recapitulation on how I proceed and how I suggest to you to proceed when you go to these Bach suites. Now, I just want to, as we were approaching the end of this this last episode, I was reflecting, for myself, about how about the importance that this work has taken in my life. I will just share my experience, and also maybe I read a very interesting book lately by somebody whom I think I already mentioned once, Yuval Noah Harari, and he wrote two books, probably more, but I read two of his books. One is called Sapiens, and one is called Homo Deus. And first, in Sapiens, there is one point that I find very interesting. Well, it's a big book, but there is one point. If I had to take a takeaway thought from reading this book, it's the one that what really differentiates Homo sapiens from his predecessors, from not only from the animal world, but from human kinds that preceded, like Homo erectus and others. It's fiction. Fiction, the capacity to create a story, to tell a story, and to invent one. But not just in the sense of, okay, I just invent a story, but to invent a story that brings people together. I mean, we all live in different fictions. Some of you might live in America, and they live in this thing created by the human mind called America. And I was raised in France, and I grew up with a strong notion of this fiction that was created over the centuries that is called France. And we know how these fictions have brought humanity into a lot of trouble, because by saying I am this and you are this, and by opposing fictions. But first and foremost, it's a wonderful capacity that we have, and that masters like Bach or like Shakespeare and Beethoven and whom do I know, that they have to create a story that is not just a story. Is not just that you read about it and then you close the book and then it's gone. These stories, like this one, like the Bach suites, like these 6 Bach suites, if you plunge into it, into all these details that we have looked at, you come out of there a bit of another person. I mean, you have made an experience and you have come further. And this brings me to another point that I thought Yuval Noah Harari was summing up very well in his other book, Homo Deus, which is a book in which he looks at tomorrow, at what humankind, at what our future and the future of our children could look like. And he's particularly looking a lot at what is going to take huge importance in tomorrow's world. It's already taken a lot today, but what we experience today is nothing compared to what it will be in 20 years, which is called artificial intelligence. And this artificial intelligence is basically the capacity by machines to reproduce, unfortunately, in more efficient ways, all the algorithms that constitute our life, day and night. And these algorithms are actually, I talked a lot about algorithms in this series. When I take you and I say here Bach is going 1 5 or 2 6 1 5, this is, and he's out working 1 bar 2 bars, all of these are algorithms. So the paradoxical point is that, and the point to which I want to get, is that by seeing how somebody like Bach, in this case, is using the algorithms that constitute us, because that's what we are at first. That's the base on which our life is grounded. If we really go and rejoice of how Bach, out of these algorithms, creates a world, creates a fiction, creates life, like people, one has the feeling it's almost like beings who are suddenly taking shape in front of us through notes. Then we have a chance to also through these algorithms and through the ones that we learn on our cello, where to put the fingers, how to play in tune, how to a double stop has to relate in order to be exactly in tune, and all these things. And the times we have a chance to really bring life, and by this capacity of fiction, to bring people together, to bring listeners and players and composer and together. And this is probably why this music, was played by Rostropovich in front of the Berlin Wall, or by Yo-Yo Ma in front of a bridge where refugees, have been going through, and things like this, and talking to more important, to higher purpose of our lives. The last thing I want to say, to try to make this sort of, I'm aware, very vague statement that I made now, but nevertheless very heartfelt, and I hope you see that. And something that I've been talking with my students about is that basically, as the performer, now I address again the performers, the cellists, or whatever instrument you play. If that's your profession, if you are going to go to play for people, maybe be aware, not only intuitively, but be aware that we really fulfill our mission as performers if, through the understanding, the analyzing of a piece, through playing what's there in the character of the time, of the instrument for which it was composed, and then we have a chance to do something that no artificial intelligence will ever be able to do. And that's the point where I wanted to get, that I strongly believe, excuse me to be so, I don't want to be, make big declarations, but strongly believe in humanity. But I think in this warning that I got by reading this very interesting book by Harari, was that we will have to get very conscious of what is our mission beyond, above, what is the greater purpose of all these capacities that we have called algorithms, but that artificial intelligence and machines will be able to do much better than us in a few years. And what is this? What is this thing that belongs only to human people, to humanity? And I guess, and that will be my final statement, I promise. I guess genius like Bach, like Beethoven, and like Shakespeare, they guide us in what the difference is between what makes us as humankind. Thank you for all this year, and be well. I pray that the current situation is not affecting you personally and your beloved ones too dramatically. And I really hope that the situation will get better quickly. For now, please stay healthy, take care of yourself, and I look forward to exchange with you again, hopefully in better times from October, and I will keep you posted about this. Thank you very much.